So now I have this. I do want a dart, however, I want this to be a little bit oversized. So, yeah, I'm going to do a dart, and then I'm just going to make a lot of E's. Also, I measured, this is an inch from the center front, and I put that line there and matched them. As for this, I think I want to move this here, like so. So now I'm just going to pin these darts, and then I'm going to do the side seam. Yeah, I'm kind of correcting this curve a little bit because I realized that my ribbon is far smaller than I thought it would be. Okay, the center front is correct. I have the hem. Again, marking where the dart is, flipping that dart over, marking that. Okay. This is a little loose, which would be more of a problem if I wasn't going to change it. And then I'm going to make marks all along the dart as well as where the dart ends. And that'll be it. I just have to remember before adding seam allowances to add that 1/2 inch here to make a lot of ease, because I want it to be like an oversized thing. And then we will have the front of the tank top. Okay, so I went over the darts. You can see that they're a little curved, and that's all right. And then the center front, I'm going to put a seam allowance on it, even though I might have it be on fold. I don't know what's going to happen with the scrap fabric yet, but if, yeah, it could be good to just have the pattern like that. And then here, so you see how these little tick marks are going around? I messed up when pinning it. It should be a straight line. So I connected the armpit to the waist, or the hem, and then I added 1/2 inch and put a line here. So now I'm going to add a seam allowance all around, and I think I want the seam allowance to be kind of high. I don't see this going through my serger well. The fabric I have for this is so thick. My serger is very finicky. I don't see this going through my serger. That means that I might want a larger seam allowance. Dare I say 5/8 of an inch, 1/2 inch? I'll think about it and then add it off camera, and I'll be making the back the exact same way I made the front. It's a bit of a different pattern, but it's the same basic principle. This doesn't belong here. This is from when I tried to make it corseted. It's the same basic principle. Is just take the fabric, line it up, and do what needs to be done there. So I'll probably have a dart here, a straight dart. That was wonky, but you get the idea. And then it's got its little inch at the top for the straps. So yeah, this should be fairly straightforward. So here I am cutting out the patterns from the fabric that I've already created, this textile, and already manipulated it. So I'm just tracing in chalk on the back so they don't have to pierce needles through it because it is quite thick. And then I'm just going to cut it out with that as a guide. I did that for every piece but one piece, and I'll show you the piece that I didn't do that for. So I'm still sick. I've had the flu, but now I'm just kind of still nasally and apparently making bad decisions. So hopefully this will work. I've just taken some of this. The thread here will come off because it's just sewn to the water-soluble paper. That's fine though. I'm just making a big pocket for my scraps to go in, and you'll notice it's upside down and I'm leaving a hole here, so I'm just going to zigzag stitch within the very large seam allowance around this part. And then I'm going to stuff this the same way I did those other big pieces, and then I'm going to put the darts in. And then I'm going to seal it up, sew over it just like I did the big pieces, and then I'll have one piece and I'll be able to put the darts in. So something about doing it this way with the fabric manipulation on the actual pattern, I should have added a few inches because it shrunk it. So what I'm going to do is I have this piece cut out right here. I'm going to cut 2 of these out of scraps and fold them in half and sew them here. And that way it'll be like it has a little placket. I also want to be careful not to take too much off the alien because I was really excited for that detail, but as I was trimming it, I kind of cut the poodle a little bit. So super sad about that, but we'll just use a tiny, tiny seam allowance with this middle front piece on each side, and hopefully that'll work. All right, so I have these done. They're really stiff, but they fit pretty good. I also top stitched the darts because I'm just about to cut them down to size. I don't need all this bulk on here. It's going to make it hard to sew it to the lining fabric. And then we'll be ready to attach our sides and our back. Okay, so I have the back here with both the seams. Again, I top stitched. It's not a critical part of the design. It's just that, by the way, this will make a great corset. It's just that it's a good edge finish and it kind of keeps everything straightened out and in place. I'm going to ignore these center front panels for now, and I'm going to put this front on. I'm just going to do it right sides together, like I do everything else, and then at the side seams there, so right sides together. I may have to do some trimming because some things did change heights. But then I'll be ready to go on to the next step. All right, so I have a thicker material that I'm using for the lining. It's not too thick, but it does seem like it'll be stronger than the stuff I was going to use before. Also, I added back that 1/2 inch that I folded off of the center front. And I'm going to use that to kind of cover up these panels. I'll show you what I'm doing when I get to that, but first I'm going to do everything all over again on the lining. Okay, this is a little complicated, but stay with me here. My original idea of just folding this thing in half on each side and sewing it would have added a lot of bulk. So I have this piece and I've kind of sandwiched in my little belt loops, and I have this folded over, so this is going to make one nice seam in the middle. And then after I fold this over, these two things are going to align and be able to be sewn to the center front of what I have now. And then if that seam isn't like the cleanest or the best, then I have enough extra of the white lining to cover it up. So I have all of this sewn together with the loops that I snuck in those seams too. And now I'm just showing you how there's a lot of bulk. You don't need all those layers after you sew. Most importantly, after you sew. You do need them before you sew. But after you sew, you can just go and trim them all. Like what I'm doing here is I'm trimming basically everything that's not that white lining fabric. Alright, so moving on to the shoulder loops. I have 4 of them pinned with right sides together. I ended up not doing this. You'll see later I put in I edge finished the side seams and then just sewed all that together. It was just easier with all the bulk, just like that. Now that I have all of that, I tucked those shoulder loops into where they go on the shoulders, and now I have the entire top part right sides together facing each other, and I'm just going to sew all along that. You'll see at the end that I had to de-stitch and re-stitch those top parts because they just didn't fit. They were too chunky, so I had to top stitch everything all together on those, but for the most part it's just right sides together on the top like you would a corset or something. But I did stop sewing a few centimeters from that center front seam because I'm going to, you see how the lining is so much longer, I'm going to have to do some fiddling with that. Alright, so I had some issues with the straps here popping out, so I ended up just top stitching the whole thing. I think it looks fine. You know, the whole pattern and all the stitching is so busy anyway that it kind of blends in. So now the only two steps I have left are to top stitch this, and I think I'm just going to fold this over and like hand stitch this to like one layer, and then we'll be ready for the hem, which I think is also just folding this in, and they meet here, and I just top stitch. I think I want to do the hem first. I'll just fold this in while I fold this over. So that's what I'm going to do. Alright, time for the bows. So everything's put together. I just have to make the bow that goes here, the bow that goes here, and the three down the center. And this will be all done. For this mini skirt, we have this pattern. I'll link it below, but it's I have two long sheets of pleated fabric. I will warn you though, once you get higher up in sizes, this took a lot of fabric. Like I had to fold the thing in half, cut it, and even then. So I'm warning you that once you get to the plus sizes of this pattern, this is not to throw shade at the pattern maker whatsoever, but that might be a lot of fabric, so you might want to like look into getting extra long yardage or getting like extra amounts of fabric, or even sewing them together, but I wouldn't recommend that. Anyway, I have 2 bits of pleated fabric. I have 4 waistband pieces that I added 1.5 inches to on either side so that they can have a bit of a flap there, because I'm actually changing the pattern of this just a little so that the waistband has 2 side buckles instead of 1 zipper. And part of doing that is the second pattern I'm using, which is an adaptive pattern, and I will also link that bit down below. But for that, I have 2 mirrored pairs of these guys. That's just going to go from the waistband to the bottom of the skirt and add like an extra little gusset. So my next step is to put this and the other one right sides together and sew. Hang on. It doesn't have it marked which way, so I might be upside down, but I think it's this way. I'm just going to sew from here to... I'm sorry, what is happening? Oh, it is this way. Okay. I'm going to sew from here to here, keeping in mind that the marks I made should be where the waistband is longer than this thing. And I'm actually going to mark the center pieces as well. So this fits pretty well. There's just, I think this flap needs to be bigger, like the back, and I guess I could fix it and have a seam there. I don't think it'd be that noticeable. It's just not the most professional looking thing to do. But that having been said, it would look so much better if the buttons were like under the bust, which I should have planned for a while ago. Other than that though, it's looking pretty good. So I think I'm just gonna plan out or measure out how much more I need for like an extra little placket thing, and then I'll do some more sewing. Oh, I also kind of wanted whatchamacallit, belt loops. Yeah, I wanted belt loops, but the waistband's so long, I don't know about that. So this is what I have. I think I should have actually added like 4 or 5 inches to the back, but maybe it's just poking out a little bit because of the pins. So far so good. I think I'm going to go the next step of sewing the sides together. I cannot believe that after cutting off all that fabric, the sides still fit. That's pretty amazing. Also, this problem is gaping by like a lot here. I think what I'm going to do for now is ignore it. Actually, I'm not going to sew the sides together. I'm going to sew. Where'd my little flappies go? I'm going to sew these to the side as per the tutorial that I will link. And then when I put in the back lining here, I'm not finished sewing apparently. When I put this in, I'll add an elastic to the back, like sew them together and put an elastic in. Yeah, I guess I'll have to, but this is it so far. I'm just gonna sew this up. This is the lining for the waistband. I'm gonna sew these as per the tutorial, and then I guess I can work on the belt loops. So I de-stitched on both of these just a little bit because I wasn't supposed to sew the waistband on yet. It's hard when you're using 2 different patterns, so I got ahead of myself there a little bit. I'm also probably gonna have to de-sew this just up until this point, so that I can actually get to here. But then I'm gonna mark 5 inches from this top piece on both sides, and then I'm going to sew from the bottom to that mark, and then I'll be ready for that. So this is it on the mannequin. Again, I'll link the other tutorial because I had so much trouble. I can't even describe it, but now that I've done it, it's super obvious what's going on, and I might put it on other things as well. But basically we have what looks like a huge pocket in here, but it's not. It's open to the outside after a certain touch, but it adds so much room. You could even get this skirt over the head, I think. I haven't really tested it because my mannequin doesn't have a head, but you get the idea. It got over her bust, so there's that. The back does need some adjustments. I took in a couple darts on the side. I'm going to do that on either side and either side of the other one. Hopefully it doesn't make it too bulky. And then, so I have this done. That's plenty of room on the side seam there, but I'm thinking, okay, first of all, I gotta fix this. This is driving me nuts. It fell out because of course it did. Other than that, it's going pretty well. I think I should mark where I want the buttons, except they're not really turning out that even from how I'm wrapping it. So maybe I'll just measure to here and put them on both sides, or maybe I'll just wait. I'm not sure. I'll focus on fixing the other stuff first. All right, so I have the now the lining centerpiece matched with the already centerpiece at the top, or the waistbands matched, and I also threw in the belt loops. So now I'm just going to do this seam, fold them over, iron, maybe top stitch, and then I'm not sewing this side seam. Normally you would, but I want to put Velcro in there. So I want everything matched up first so that I can sew the Velcro to the lining and not like both sides of the fabric. So The Velcro is going to come in before the sealing of these. So the first thing I did was I put the button down on a mannequin, and I cut the shoulders off. I cut it just above the pocket there. Then I cut the lapel off and sewed it to the button down near the top, and added an edge finish where the center back of the lapels used to be. And next I'm going to take this lace right here, and I'm going to do edge finishes on the outer edges like that, and I'm going to sew that onto the top as well. Okay, this is what I have right now. So I have this technique of just sewing this stuff or something like solid to the lace just to hold it together, make it easier, although I did hand stitch these seams, and I will have to also hand stitch those to the shirt, which is fine. This will look better once it's sewn down. And I have it so that you can see that it's like in between the weave of the lace so that it can still button up. That's why I did it like this. And then the other underlayer, I think I'm just going to keep as like kind of a dicky. I don't really know how I would make that into one piece, except maybe to like tack it on one side only so that it would still be easy to put on. That's kind of like a half dicky, but I think I'm going to save that for when I sell it. So for now, all I need to do is sew this down with my machine and sew this down with my hands. Unless I want to cut it and hand stitch it, but I found that cutting off these beads causes more grief than just hand stitching. So we're moving along here, and the next you'll see it will be at my show.